I found unity about 27 years ago, and I had just become sober in that few months and walked into a unity ministry. And my heart broke open, and tears just began to flood. And there was this great journey, and it must have taken at least a year before those tears subsided. But it was this cleansing journey, and it was this coming home to self, coming home to a God that I had left. And so I love that song. And it's also about returning to the heart. The truth is, God never went anywhere. It was me who wandered away. Yeah, I had to check out other things, as we do in our teens and our 20s. We're not so sure about this God thing. So I did that. And as that song talked about, the traveling to the edge and moving through life. So we all have our journey. We all have our awakening. And so today I came wanting to talk to you about the power of the heart. And a year and a half ago or so, Unity hosted the cinema through the Association of, Global New Thought. Yeah, the Association of Global New Thought. And we showed some movies here. And one of the movies that got shown was The Power of the Heart. And it's this book, but it also became a movie. And it really, really spoke to me. And so I bought the book and the movie. And but it's really... from all the beautiful spiritual teachers that I love and know, Maya Angelou and Deepak Chopra, Gary Zukav, Michael Beckwith, Joe Dispenza, Howard Martin, who is a heart math originator, Jane Goodall, Neil Donald Walsh, Marianne Williamson. And so all these people came together to talk about their experience of the heart and how the heart is really the centerpiece of our God experience, our awakening. So the heart is also an organ, but it's more than an organ. It possesses intelligence that far surpasses that of the mind. And that's what's being discovered now through science, of really understanding that we have an intelligence here, and it's tapped into something that we know not of. And so it's so fun to have science now proving the spirituality, right? That's what's happening. Yeah, it's a great union of bringing science and spirituality together. And our founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were very much into that. You remember that one book, The Atom Smashing Power of the Mind by Charles Fillmore. So he absolutely knew the effect of science and spirituality, of blending those two. So what I know is that through the heart, we can find our way in the world. Through the heart, we connect with a higher form of knowing. Through the heart, we find inspiration. And so we can use all of life's rich and beautiful experiences to align with our soul, as Tanya did, of recognizing this relationship that she had with her beautiful sister and how she had so hoped that it would be different, and then having the courage to sort of recognize it's not, to just accept what is and love her right where she is. And how beautiful the heart is saying yes to that, right? Just yes. So my prayer and knowledge is that relationship will now thrive and grow even greater. And sometimes when we let go of what we think it should be, it becomes something even greater. I know that happens for me in relationships. My demise has always been trying to change the outer, right? Changing you so that I'll become more comfortable, right? changing you so that we'll have more peace in the world. And so that's been my beautiful journey of opening my own heart and trusting that let there be peace on earth and let it begin here. Let it begin with me. And the more I have done that, the more peace I have found, not just in myself, but in the world. So there's a quote in the book by one of my favorite teachers, Maya Angelou, who I was so blessed to interview about a year before she made her transition by phone. And she is just a beautiful spirit, as you all probably are aware, but even more so connected to the heart. Anyway, she says this: I believe that the heart is the most forceful, impactful element in our lives. I believe that the heart helps us to understand who we are, where we are, and how we are. The heart is the only thing that we can trust. And in the heart is God. In the heart is this infinite wisdom that we get to tap into. In the work that I do, we recognize that the heart is that great place that really allows us to raise our vibration by holding or experiencing feelings that are on a higher vibratory energy field, which love, gratitude, appreciation. So in the heart math work, that's what we call a quick coherence, is connecting to the heart and creating a resonant field or an energy of gratitude, appreciation, and love. And when we live from that awareness in that energy field, then wonderful connections can happen. Infinite wisdom can flow through us. And it sort of bypasses some of the brain turbulence, chaos, that happens up in the brain when we're judging and criticizing and thinking. So the heart is amazing. It also can generate this wonderful chemical in the body called oxytocin. And so Tanya had us do this in the first service. Let's turn to someone next to you and just, say, I so appreciate who you are. Say that to them now. I so appreciate who you are. Yes, see? So we have more joy, more oxytocin in the room right now. Are you ready? Yeah. This one's dancing over here. So it just sort of cleans out, and some of you that may have been thinking about what you wanted to do later, or maybe an argument you had with someone, maybe you just noticed that that's just cleaned away, that you fully came and gave yourself to this space, that there's an energy of appreciation that really can shift our energy and move into a greater awareness. So our language is full of expression and refers to the heart as the seat of our feelings. We think of that, don't we, when we think of the heart, our feeling nature, our intuition. And we describe someone who is affectionate as open-hearted or warm-hearted. And we describe someone who is cold and insensitive as heartless. Someone who is near to our hearts is because we care about them a great deal. So we know this, that the heart is that anchoring place that is filled with love and joy and all the rich things that we've really come here to be. So one of the beautiful terms that I love about the heart is follow your heart. To follow your heart. To let the heart lead the way. Let go of the criticism or judgment or thou shalts or the shoulds, and letting go and really trusting that the heart will lead you in the right direction. There is, in the yogic traditions, the heart is really literally and figuratively our internal guide. And in Japanese, they have two terms for the heart. One is the physical heart of Shinsu, and the mind of the heart is kokora. So they already understand that there is an intelligence in the heart. There's a thinking center that goes beyond rationality, that is beyond right and wrong. It's an intelligence that is connected to something greater than that. So Deepak Chopra talked about an old Indian story that referred that God really wanted to take these great truths, these great ideas, these great principles, and make sure that we humans had access to them. So he said, I know, I'll put them as close as I can and put them in their hearts, knowing that they will find them there. And the truth is, most of us search outside of ourselves, don't we, for that truth, for that infinite wisdom. We go outside of ourselves as we're growing and maturing spiritually. We seek outside for advice. We look for our happiness in a different job or a bigger house or a faster car or a more handsome husband or whatever the case may be, although mine's pretty wonderful. Very, very happy with this one. Yeah. Even with the injured arm and all. So one of the things that Larry's been through, this is his second surgery on his arm, but I just see this amazing resilience in him, which is a fabulous quality. I want to acknowledge that in you, and how no matter what is just, being resilient, being able to move through life's difficulties, no matter how they get created, and sort of bringing light to it. And what a joy it is to be around him 90% of the time. 85? No. Really. He opens my heart in so many ways, and helps me. And you may not see this, but I can be very, very serious. And so Larry is the opposite, very playful and very, non-serious. And so he's really helped me stay in a more joyful way. And I'm so appreciate that. And there are times when it's very annoying. Yeah. You know that part about him? Yeah. When he makes a joke in the middle of a very sacred moment, So anyway, there. I got to say something. I've been wanting to come back a whole lot since, blessing you in this ministry. So Rumi said, everything in the universe is within you. Ask all from yourself. All of the teachers point back to self, back to that infinite wisdom, that intelligence is in you. So our heart is our compass. It gives us direction when we trust it. It has our GPS. The GPS of the heart is God's perfect signal. God's perfect signal is the heart telling us some feeling. So if we're feeling off center, or if we're feeling fear or worry or doubt or any of those difficult emotions, we can know that it's pointing to say something's amiss, something's not quite right in our world. So check out what is needed in order to bring you back to balance. But maybe also we might be feeling joy and connection, exuberance, excitement, creative. And then we'll know that too is pointing to, yes, you're on the right track. You're doing that in which I know that you will be blessed. So checking it out, God's perfect signal is the heart. Check in with the heart. So this author, Baptiste Pep, wrote this book. He started off as a lawyer, and he went through school. He got his law degree, and shortly after he got his law degree, he had this, what I call divine discontent. Larry and I went through that in a certain period of our life, in our my late 30s, your early 40s, and when life was looking pretty good externally, but there was an internal shift in us knowing something needed to change, that there was more for us to do in this world other than what we were doing. And that's when the call to ministry came. And it's a divine discontent. It's like, something's not right. I'm not going in the direction that my heart is seeking. And so we began to sort of make a U-turn at that time period, and Unity showed up for me, and I dragged Larry into it. And of course, he just took it all in and got it right away. You know, that this was ours to do. I remember having that sense of, why are we here? And I remember the first class we took together, A Course in Miracles. Our teacher was Mary, and she asked that, so why don't you just share with us why you're here? And this big, huge sound inside of me just said, you know, I'm not sure exactly why, but something is going to change for us. And that was our first class, and then we went into all of the teachings of Unity and then went off to ministerial school from there. And that was a huge shift from what we thought our life would be like. So thank goodness that we were both able to listen to the heart's calling, because the mind said, you have 2 small kids. This is not the right time. You have great jobs. This is not the right time. You live in California and you have to go back to Missouri. This is not a good idea. And so the mind was creating all these reasons why it wouldn't work. You know, we'd have to sell the business and, you know, and do you know what mind I'm talking about? But the heart is saying, go, do this. And it wasn't until we finally both said yes to that idea, everything fell into place. You know, the business sold, thousands of details that had to happen, and I was trying to figure out how we will do this. You know, house needed to sell, it sold for the right, you know. So God, in the midst of a divine yes, always figures out how. I remember a teacher saying, how is none of your business? You have to just have the knowing, the vision of what it is for you to do. And how that happens is up to God and the universe. And you just need to dial in, yes? Yes. So remember that. How is none of my business? And that means that we can have a big vision. That means that we can really step into something greater than us. But we do need to get into silence. We need to practice the silence to really listen to the still, small voice. So Charles Fillmore defined the silence through the revealing word as this. The silence is a state of consciousness entered into for the purpose of putting us in touch with divine mind, so that the soul may listen to the still small voice. And that is for us to do as well, because what's happening is this mind chatter. There's just everybody and the committee are up here telling us how to live our lives. And so it's absolutely imperative that we get still. So what I know for sure is that within me is everything I need to be fully human and fully divine. That God didn't send me here without directions, without all of the gifts needed for me to fulfill my purpose, just as you are here to fulfill your divine purpose. And within you is everything that you need in order to express that. God left nothing out. That every item, every character, every quality, every blessed part of you will be there when it's called on. So who you've come here to be is so beautiful and so magnificent and so big and so amazing. And if we knew what God's plan was too quickly before our consciousness is there, we'll run. Anyone have that experience? Yeah. So we have to grow into God's vision for ourselves. So sometimes God gives us little baby steps. That's how my life has been, Great things happening, but just so much, And so just taking those beautiful baby steps and trusting that whatever's needed in the next expression will be there. Financially, resources, people, whatever is needed. So it's that trusting and keeping the heart open. Keeping the heart open. So I know for my life, I have been continually wanting to listen to the heart, and I've been doing that for at least 27 years, and it still can be a challenge at times. And I have to really get clear and know what is true for me. And my personal vision for the world came through right after Larry and I went to our first ministry, and he was the ordained minister at that time, and I hadn't finished. I was still finishing mine, what they called ordination in the field. And so I found myself not sure what to do in this ministry. And so I went back to my old profession. And when you make a sacred contract with the next thing you're going to do, I don't know about you, but if you turn backwards, you do turn to salt. It's true in the Bible, it says she turned around. That something happens in the body, physically and emotionally, that you sort of begin to shut down. So I went back to my old profession, and it was so hard. It was so hard. Every part of my being was screaming, no, you can't do this. You've signed up for something greater. And so I tried and tried and tried, and so I surrendered, and somebody gave me this great book called The Path by Lori Beth Jones, and I created my own new mission statement about living on purpose. And from that mission statement, I created a workshop called Living on Purpose. And the administrator who was working at that church at that time awakened during this workshop and found her joy, her passion, followed her heart, because part of it was following your heart, and found another job and left. And there was a position there. So I said, okay, great. So that position, the administration, allowed me to complete my ordination and work with Larry in the ministry. And I couldn't have done that, right? That was not a plan I had to do a workshop and hope that this person would leave. So God works it out when we stay true to what we're here to do, to just let it unfold. So my personal vision is to create a world of peace and harmony through daily practices of greater awarenesses, of transformation, of connection to self, others, and God. And so for those of you who've taken some of my courses with the Be Peace practice, the connection practice, and the Q process, you'll know that that fits in there, that it's about awakening to our true selves. It's about transforming. It's aware-apy. It's becoming aware of how I am in the world and transforming so there's a therapeutic aspect to it of awakening. So I was the one who was creating that pain. All along I thought it was out there. But that was just the stimulation. It happened in me. And beginning to realize that all along it was me. So this book, this beautiful man, Baptiste de Pep, saw Oprah and Eckhart Tolle do the New Earth online. Some of you participate in that when that happened? Wasn't that amazing? I mean, that was a fabulous time in our world, that this new thought ideas were mainstream, and millions of people saw that message, and there was major changes that happened, and that was about creating a new heaven and a new earth. So the new heaven is about us awakening to our oneness, creating a conscious awareness of that oneness, and manifesting that in a world that looks different than it does today for some, which is peaceful and loving and cooperative. So let me share with you that idea of how we might be shifting right now in our conscious awareness. I'm aware, and maybe you are too, in this political time right now, that there's some real converging energies, yes? that are just playing out, and it feels pretty uncomfortable for most of us. And it may feel like there's scarcity, there's competition, there's lack, there's right and wrong, there's fear, and there's mistrust. Yes? Yes. So here's the thoughts that sort of go with that, those feelings, those ideas. I get to blame you. You're doing something to me. I'm right, you're wrong. I win, you lose. I am better or less than you. There's separation, there's judgment, there's conflict, there's misperception, there's miscommunication. Does that sound like a world we sort of are seeing right now? Yes? So it's sort of this very exclusive black and white, where most of the planet lives in our humanness, about separation. But really, we are moving, and most of us in this room, are to a new paradigm, to a new earth, a new vision here on earth. And that sort of looks like that there's enough. There's cooperation, there's acceptance, there's love, there's trust, there's abundance, there's generosity. And in that field, there are thoughts like, no one and nothing is against me. The entire universe is here to support me. There is total acceptance of what is. Everyone must be for me. We are absolute potential in the realm of infinite possibilities. What someone else thinks of me is none of my business. And I'm connected to the whole universe and everyone in it. Yes? Yes. Yeah. That's the new earth. That's the new awakening that we're all moving into. And most of us are there a lot of the time. But then we join the others in some of that separation and fear and control. So it's an awakening process. And I'd like to share a story with you that some of you may be aware of, and maybe this will help some understanding of what's going on as well. It's called the parable of the twins. Once upon a time, twins were conceived in the same womb. Weeks passed, and the twins developed. As their awareness grew, they laughed with joy. Isn't it great that we're conceived? Isn't it great to be alive? So together, the twins explored their world. They found their mother's cord that gave them life. They sang for joy. How great our mother's love, that she shares her own life with us. As the weeks stretched into months, the twins noticed how much each was changing. What does it mean? Asked the one. It means that our stay in this world is drawing to an end, said the other. But maybe there is life after birth. That's funny. But how can there be, responded the one. We will shed our life cord, and how is life possible without that? Besides, we have seen evidence that others have been here before us. and none of them have returned to tell us that there is life after birth. No, this is the end. And so the one fell into deep despair, saying, if conception ends in birth, what's the purpose of life in the womb? It's meaningless. Maybe there's not a mother after all. But there has to be, protested the other. How else did we get here? How do we remain alive? Have you ever seen our mother? Said the one. Maybe she lives only in our minds. Maybe we made her up because we liked the idea and it made us feel good. And so the last days in the womb were filled with deep questioning and fear. And finally, the moment of birth arrived. When the twins had passed from their world, they opened their eyes and cried for joy, for what they saw exceeded their fondest dreams. And this is our world awakened, yes? As we stay connected to the truth of who we are, that knowing that we are connected at the heart, that no one and nothing is against us, that truly we are here for a divine purpose, to express our own divinity, to first embrace our humanity so that we may express more of our divine self. So the author, Baptiste, said, when I interviewed Eckhart Tolle, I asked how an awakening of the heart can cause transformation beyond the individual experience. And he said, whoever is in contact with his or her heart is connected with his or her true nature. And whoever is connected with his or her true nature is connected with the true nature of all living things. That consciousness, living in unity with the power of the heart, will create a new reality. And nothing is going to free us except ourselves. Yes? Let us pray. So, beloved presence, we give thanks for these teachings. We give thanks for the awareness that you are expressing through us, as us. That we recognize our own divinity. With every passing day, every moment, we step into a greater expression of you. That we get bigger. That we allow this infinite intelligence to guide our way. That there is this beautiful GPS, this God's perfect signal happening through our hearts, and we awaken and trust that we are guided, we are blessed, and we are loved. Thank you, God, for each one here awakening to their own divine mission and purpose. We are so grateful, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you. God bless you.